Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, Blachowicz versus Jacare. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the main card. So in our first fight, we have in the middleweight division, Marcus Perez versus Wellington Turman. So looking at this fight, you got a pretty young prospect in Turman. I think he's definitely in his 20s, probably like early, mid-20s, so a very young fighter. You got Marcus Perez, I think he's either late 20s or early 30s. So both fighters, they're at pretty good ages. I stuttered for a second there, but they're both at pretty good ages right there. So Perez is probably roughly around his prime, and Turman, not even close to his prime, a lot of talent, a lot of potential. But all that being said, how do they match up now? It's not about no potential, not about this and that right now. It's about how do they match up at this given moment. And how I see it right now is Turman's a solid fighter. His grappling, he's very aggressive. He's big, he's physical. But his striking, certainly from what we've seen, like it needs a lot more improvement. And he is a solid grappler, probably the better grappler of the two. But Marcus Perez is the more experienced fighter. I think he was an LFA champion at one point, has an extensive career. And he's a much more well-rounded fighter. I think he's striking, has a good karate type of striking background. Is very good, very slick on the feet. And in the grappling aspect, he's no slouch there as well. So he's a solid grappler, solid striker. He's the full package. I think Turman can certainly beat him in the grappling aspect, but it's still an MMA fight, so it's not going to be just a grappling. So he's going to have issues cutting him off, getting into him, getting him down to the ground. And then when he gets him to the ground, will he have that much of an advantage that he can dominate there? I don't think so. I see that Perez has a clear advantage on his feet. So if there is any significant advantage in this fight, it's in Perez's experience, it's in Perez striking. So in the striking aspects, so pretty much Perez has two advantages over Turman, where Turman only has one slight advantage over Perez. So I feel like in this fight, Perez is going to be the outvalue Turman and be able to move around, move, make him some hard target, out strike Turman, and maybe even mix him against the clinch. Just give him different looks. I see he'll be able to be a veteran in this fight, give him a bunch of different looks, outwork him, outsmart him, and just like I said, just be the veteran in the fight and just show him some stuff he hasn't really seen yet. And before I come to the final prediction, it's already kind of obvious at this point. When we look at the people Perez has lost to, it's mostly been people with pretty solid takedown defense or solid wrestling, and that had, more developed striking than Turman and more power than Turman, and be able to put more volume out than Turman and mix it up better than Turman. So I feel like this one, like Turman, like lots of talent on him, but just doesn't have the full game. He's not as rounded out as he needs to be to beat Perez. But again, he's a young fighter and stuff that happen. He can change in one camp because he's so young. But I feel at this point, he's not rounded out enough to really beat Perez, in my opinion. So I just feel like Perez beats him to a decision in this one. So in this fight, I got Marcus Perez via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the middleweight division, Antonio Arroyo versus Andre Muniz. I don't know, is Muniz or Muniz? I'm going to call him Muniz. So looking at this fight, I think it's pretty clear and cut to the point right here. I don't think there's enough tape on either guy to really be sold on anyone or say this one's so much better than the other or this is that and this and this. But looking at both guys, kind of has similar paths, except Muniz has way more experience. He's 1 year younger. He's about, 3 inches taller. And he has a little bit more power in the strikes, and he's a little bit cleaner on the striking. Grappling-wise, it's kind of hard to tell who's necessarily the better grappler. But I feel like most of the advantages lie with Muniz. He's, like I said, he's younger by a year. He's tall about 3 inches, bigger, stronger, and a little bit more well-rounded. So I feel like it's going to be a competitive fight with two guys that have similar styles matching up against one another, but I just feel like Muniz has the advantage in every area. So I see it's a competitive fight, but I got Muniz winning this one. So in this fight, I got Andre Muniz via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, Charles Oliveira versus Jerry Gordon. So looking at this fight, you got Jerry Gordon, solid fighter, tough guy, amazing amazing story behind him, but he's biting off a lot more than I think he can chew at this point. I think all he really has in this fight is a puncher's chance. And maybe if he can endure, the hellstorm in the first round and maybe grind out Charles Oliveira and get him to that second or third round, well, he needs to get him out of the first round for sure, or maybe grind him out, outwork him or something, he can have the chance. But other than that, I just feel like Charles Oliveira just completely blows him out of the water in every single category. I think Charles Oliveira could beat him in a pure striking match, beat him in a pure grappling match, well, definitely in a pure grappling match, and just beat him everywhere. He could beat him even in a test on MMA, I believe. He could beat him literally at everything. He could beat him in MMA chess. So look at this fight, I just feel like Charles Oliveira just runs right through him and stops him in the first, whether it be by TKO or submission. I think it's going to be a little bit of both, be to hurt him on the feet, make him give up a neck, hop on the neck and submit him. And I think it happens in the first round. So in this fight, I got Charles Oliveira via first round submission. Now to our Now on to our next fight we have in our co-main event in the light heavyweight division, Mauricio Shogun Rua versus Paul Craig. So looking at this fight, you got Paul Craig. He's a taller fighter, I think about 6'2" versus 6 feet. So he has a good bit of height, has a little bit of a reach on him between these two. And that's really about all he has in this moment in this fight, or in this fight. I think Shogun's a more technical fighter, faster, stronger, more experienced, more accomplished, like significantly in all those areas than Paul Craig. And also Shogun has a style that Paul Craig hasn't shown an ability to defeat yet. Like when fighters pressure and put him on the back foot, he usually gets stopped. Like Khalil Roundtree knocked him out, Tyson Pedro knocked him out. I forget the guy who just kind of joined the UFC like on only 2 fights and knocked him out. So, and that guy really all he had was striking, didn't really have no grappling, and he just knocked him out with basic skills and power and put him on the back foot and knocked him out. So Paul Craig defensively on his back foot has nothing. And Shogun is a pressuring, attacking fighter, and he's relentless. And certainly probably more skilled than everybody that Paul Craig has faced to date. Shogun is what's called. He has some mileage on him, a whole lot of mileage. But you look at like his career as far as in the UFC, yes, isn't as stellar as his prior career, but over the past 4 years, he's 4-1. And over the past 5 fights, he's 4-1. So over the past 4 years and over the past 5 fights, he's 4-1. And you look at his whole UFC career, he has only lost to either Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, or contenders who were hot at one moment. So it's not like he lost to just anybody. And Paul Craig doesn't fit into that, I guess, that category. He's not a stellar fighter. He's not on no hot run. He's a fighter that's been inconsistent and really been struggling to get wins here and there, really struggling to hold his spot in the UFC. But like I said, if he uses his reach well and is able to land accurately and consistently on Shogun, he has a shot. But other than that, I feel like his style, Shogun can just pressure him, put him on the back foot, and stop him. I think Shogun, regardless of what he's doing, what Paul Craig's doing out there, he's gonna be aggressive, he's gonna be technical, he's gonna be closing that distance and putting the pressure on Paul Craig. And when Paul Craig goes on the back foot, his defense becomes very poor, and I think Shogun can crack him. And I think that happens in the second round. So in this fight, I have Shogun Rua via second round TKO. Now to our main event, we have in the light heavyweight division, Jan Blachowicz versus Renato Jacare Souza. So in this fight, a lot of people are going to look at it as the pattern of, top middleweights doing poor at light heavyweight, whereas middle of the pack middleweights look good at light heavyweight. And they're going to follow that pattern. Like Rocco got knocked out. Weidman got knocked out. So Souza is going to get ran through too, and he's not going to look good at all, and he's going to get put out. But I don't think that's going to necessarily be the case. I am leaning to Blachowicz in this one, but I don't think it's necessarily the same case because Souza, in his career, he's only been stopped via strikes twice. One to Whitaker, which is no shame to that, and once in his very first UFC fight. So he has only been stopped due to strikes twice in his career. I don't think, definitely never been submitted. So mostly all his losses have been decisions. And the only one in recent years that stopped him was Whitaker, who went on to become champion. So his chin isn't as worn. He's a little bit better defensively. Like he has a better chin. Well, Rocco's chin always been glass. Weidman's chin went to garbage. But Souza, for the most part, his chin has been consistent throughout his career. So he has had a consistent chin. Yeah, he got stopped in his first fight, but that was he was green. But other than that, it's been a pretty, matter of fact, he's been stopped twice. He's been stopped, not 3 times. He stopped by Masasi due to the up kick, I believe. Stopped by Jorge Pantino in his debut. Jacare's debut, he got stopped by Jorge Pantino. And then in recent years, he only fight the other fights like 10 years plus ago, but only fight in like past 3 years that he got knocked out was the Whitaker fight. So all that been said, neither of these guys really get finished between these two. Blachowicz got finished by Santos, and other than that, I think he got passed out he retired due to exhaustion in one fight. So, and being knocked out by Santos doesn't really mean much because Santos hit like a Mack truck. So if he lands clean on you, you should go out, especially on a counter that fast, that sharp. So both these guys are tough. Both these guys can go to 5 rounds. Both these guys can take a shot. They could give a shot. But what I see with this fight is I feel like it's going to come down to styles. And I think where they at this moment. So at this moment, I feel like Jacare he's going to need to win in this fight. He's going to need the pressure, and he's going to need pressure effectively. And I think he's definitely going to need to get some takedowns. I don't think he's going to win this fight if it stays on the feet the whole time. If it's on the feet the whole time, Jan Blachowicz is longer, faster, and a much more technical striker. And he throws more volume, that too. So I feel like Souza has to get this fight to the ground in some way or some form. I'm not saying he has to do it every single round or needs it desperately, but I think he has to at least secure some takedowns for him to gain that respect of Blachowicz and threaten with some submissions and stuff to really gain the respect of Blachowicz, really mix it in. But as far as just purely a striking matchup, he's going to lose that fight, I think, 9 times out of 10. And that's kind of what's going to come down to. It's probably going to play out a lot on the feet. And even on the ground, Blachowicz is no slouch on the ground. I think he hasn't really been submitted since early on in his career. So submission defense on point. Grappling defense has been improving. His submission offense has been improving. So he's been working on those areas where he's been weak and getting better. He got his groove in the UFC, and he's been looking the best he's ever looked outside of that loss to Thiago Santos, who Thiago Santos looked amazing in most of his light heavyweight career so far. Even in the loss to John Jones, he looked amazing, even on one leg. So can't really say much about Jan Blachowicz as far as, he looked bad in this far, this and that. Maybe with some mistakes here and there, but Blachowicz has been looking clean. So let me get to the point where I said Souza hasn't really been, or Souza really needs a takedowns or at least some effective grappling in this fight to, I think, get an advantage or to potentially win this fight. And why I say that is because, or why I bring it up is because I feel like Souza takedown offense has declined over the years. His striking has improved. He's gained more confidence in striking, but I think his grappling started to decline, not because his striking got so much better, but because at some point it became too easy for him to take opponents down and submit them. Like, they would kind of be so afraid of him that they kind of just back up and allow him to get these easy takedowns. And then when opponents stopped fearing his takedowns as much, he would go for these same kind of easy telegraph takedowns, and they would start to defend them, or they would get up instantly from them. And then he hasn't had the same success with his grappling in these past weeks. I think really, when was the last time he submitted somebody or really had an effective ground game against somebody in any fight? I think last opponent he had was maybe Vitor Belfort, and that's a Vitor Belfort without as much TRT. Definitely probably was still doping somewhere in there, but not as much. He wasn't that big, buffed out, super Jesus TRT. He beat that skinny leg out of the UFC for out of inactive for a couple years, Vitor Belfort. So that don't really mean much on that win. It's a good name, but yeah. So kind of get off point. But what I'm saying is his takedown offense has declined over the years, and then he has become a little bit more telegraphed with that. I think Blachowicz is going to be able to see these shots, defend them, counter them, and maybe even use them in the fact to take away some confidence of Souza, wear him out because he's going to try to struggle for these takedowns. I even think if it goes to the ground, I say Blachowicz grappling defense is solid enough to maybe defend him, hold his own on the ground. I'm not saying he's going to beat Jacare on the ground, but at least hold his own. And I feel like it's going to be really... Now let me get back to Souza's grappling. So his takedown offense has declined, and these takedown offense has declined these past couple of years. And even in his fight against what's his name, Hermanson, his grappling defense offense didn't look that phenomenal. He defended that choke real well, but other than that, his grappling looked all that phenomenal. It's off his back. So he's definitely going to need to get on top of Blachowicz with his takedowns. And as far as grappling wise, as far as takedown versus defense, he's been taken down more times in these past couple of years than he's gotten takedowns. He's been taken down like 4 or 3 times by Hermanson, and I think he got taken down once versus Weidman and took Weidman down 0 times. So what I really feel, kind of to get to the conclusion of this one, I feel like Blachowicz is going to be able to defend Souza's takedowns because they're kind of too telegraphed. I think Souza's going to look decent at the weight class. Not going to be no issue with him. I think he'll probably be stronger, this and that, but I think still be looking for setting these takedowns or not setting these takedowns up as he needs to be, and kind of coming in with his hands down like he does a lot now, swinging these big hooks, and leading his chin down, which leaves him open for one of Blachowicz's best punches, which is that uppercut, and he could land it going backwards or going forwards. And with Souza coming in with his chin down and swinging these overhands and these hooks, I think Blachowicz could catch him a lot of times. I'm not saying he's going to put Souza out with the first one or the first couple, but I think he can certainly use his opportunity to touch up Souza, make him respect him, freeze him up in the spot, catch him and freeze him, get out, circle out, and not get put on the back of the cage and allow Souza to get these easy takedowns. So for the most part, I feel like Blachowicz is going to be able to keep it more in his realm, outstrikes Souza, and I think he stops him late in the 4th round. Late in the 4th round. So in this fight, I got Jan Blachowicz via 4th round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, Blachowicz versus Souza. And as always, thanks for watching.